Boom.
Got it.
We're live. All right. I'll stop sharing for just a second, so we can do some intro there. And then before we start the discussion, I have a point to make. But Jeff, you want to intro us?
Yeah, sure. So welcome everybody. I kind of was riffing before we even started the recording. The whole goal of our coaching Agile journeys pretty much is to raise topics, best practices, and help increase others' journey and maybe give you something valuable that you could work with. We're also open to you bringing topics or suggestions or wanting to speak with us. And it's just bringing like-minded people together to, advance the ball. And we live in an ever-changing culture and environment. And Isaac and I met a few years ago at a Lisa Adkins course, and she gave us this journey path exercise. And it's quite enlightening to realize we're all on some sort of a journey. You have tremendous highs, you have some lows, and you just never know where it's going to take you. And you meet all kind of great people along the way, which is why I've met Isaac. And of course, we have Lori on board. Heidi's not with us, Mark Kruth. I'm meeting all these really great people that have really great ideas, and they just help out at every turn. And we hope that we could help other people out by bringing up new topics, new ideas, and best practices. As I said before, we do have buy us a coffee on the website. It's not so that we could literally go buy a coffee. We won't do that. We're really going to use it to get a Zoom, get a Zoom license or get our website updated, technology and anything we could do to serve this purpose or this mission. So we appreciate it. We appreciate everybody that's here right now. And I hope you guys, we want this to be an open discussion too. And I'm going to kick our discussion off. Of course, I'm going to hand it back over to Isaac real quick here. But this was kind of a thought pattern that I had. And we do want people to unmute and maybe we use in the participants, the raise the hand feature, or we could just unmute people and have people just blurt something out. I don't know. We'll wing it. That's what we do. We're agile like that. Go ahead, Isaac.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I'll just quickly jump in then, Jeff. Thanks. I'm going to quickly share my screen again, and we'll be using this as we go through our conversation just to help guide us and so that we have an artifact walking away from our meeting today. This is the first time we've done an Agile cocktail session. And so like Jeff was saying, the goal here is to be really interactive. It's to get some feedback. It's to discuss the topic in a way that gets us some benefit. So a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, in Zoom, you should be able to see the screen, and you can change your other view of one or two or three participants, however you want to change that view to make it useful to you. It's really great that we have webcams on so we can interact with each other visually. That's wonderful. What's going to happen is if you do want to say something, feel free to unmute yourself, jump right into the conversation. We will, as administrators, if there's background noise or something, we'll go ahead and mute you. So if you're trying to talk and no one's responding, you probably got muted. So just be aware of that. Whenever you're ready to jump in, do jump into the discussion and the conversation if your environment allows you to, right? If you're flying an airplane, probably shouldn't be talking to us, or driving a car, probably should stay focused on what you're doing. Just listen to us. One more thing. So we've got this document. I will share this in the chat. So please go there. As we're going through the discussion, if you have an idea that comes up or a question or a thought, this is going to be our white space, right? This is where we're going to share our thoughts as we go forward. So I'll be taking notes. If you have some notes to put in, add it in there. And what we'll do is we'll share this at the end. We'll make sure that everybody can download this. You'll all have the link to it anyway. You can just download a PDF of it or a Word doc version and edit it yourself as you go from here. Hopefully have something to take away from this meeting. I want to point out these sections at the bottom, right down there where Jeff's looking. We've got action items, questions, resource links, and future topics. So if you have an action item, I'm going to do this coming out of here, or feel free to write it down there, man. Share that with us. I'm going to go read that book. I'm going to watch that webcast. I'm going to whatever. Feel free to throw them into action items. Also, we've got questions. If you have a question you just want to ask, throw it on there. We'll keep an eye on those as we go. Resource links. If somebody mentions a really good book and someone hears it and wants to go look up the Amazon link to that book, drop it in there. So we have a quick reference point for anything we share in this. We can take all of our reference links out of here. And then future topics. We're going to try to do these cocktails semi-regularly. And so if there's a future topic you'd like to discuss, kind of like this one, throw it on there. We'll keep that in mind for a future session. So that's all the housekeeping things I think I have. I'll share the document link again in the chat. but I'll kick it over to Jeff. We'll jump into the discussion section. So again, help me edit the notes as we go. It's going to be a fun journey. I'm looking forward to it. Jeff?
All right. So thanks everyone again for joining us. We got a good crowd here. We may even throw people in a breakout room so we can have little smaller, quaint discussions if that comes up. So the topic, right? I'm not sure how many of you kind of looked at the topic and went, what is this all about? Agile people are disruptive to agile progress. So I'll give you a little bit of backdrop, because I think as an Agilist, I'm looking for any way that I can, being Agile, to increase culture, increase cultural awareness of Agile, adhere to the manifesto values, adhere to the principles, work with other people. And I think part of being Agile, and I may be wrong, and this may be open for discussion, is being open to new ways of operating and new ways of doing things. That's Agile, right? I think frameworks and methodologies are prescriptive, and they're only prescriptive up to a certain part. That's what retrospecting's about, and trying to pioneer new things. And you never know what's going to work for someone else, or something that may seem prescriptive that has worked for everyone else may not work for a particular team or in someone else's environment. So I'm really open-minded when I go down this path. And one of the things that I try to do is not ever put myself in an attack mode, but really think about what somebody said or an idea somebody put forward. So where all this came from is I'm out there on LinkedIn. Any of you guys could find me, Jeff Coors on LinkedIn. And I read a lot of articles, and I read a lot of people, Agilists, that say, here's an idea, or here's an article that I read. And I think the thing that just started ripping my heart apart, or tearing my mind apart, was the fact that other Agilists actually go on some sort of an attack mode of, that's not right, that's not what the Scrum Guide says, that's not how to do this. And I started thinking to myself, is that, as Agilists, the way we want to behave? Is that putting someone else on a defensive? And I'm not talking healthy conversation, I'm not talking a debate. And even debates up to a certain point can start to get, a little hairy, or like, why are we even debating this hard about this? So, these were just thought patterns that were surfacing, and some things that came to mind is this healthy for our culture? Here it is. I think every day we walk into environments trying to convince companies that Agile's the way to go. But when they look at the Agile streets and the Agile community and the Agile environment, and they go, these guys don't even know what they want. These guys are fighting each other. And that wasn't just on LinkedIn. I mean, I face that almost in every environment that I'm in. I could be working with a team, pioneering, trying something new with a new team, and I could have an Agilist or a Scrum Master from another team going, that's not the way to do that, and we don't agree to do things that way. Like, come on, really? Like, is this where we're going? Can we not experiment? So I guess the main questions here, and this is where I'll move this into an open conversation, is one, what do we do when this happens? Is there anything we as Agilists, if we want to uphold value and uphold a good perception of ourselves to the business world, how can we curb that? How can we take people that are negative, or I'm the Agile expert? There are other people that actually try to make other people look bad so they can make themselves look like they're the best Agile expert. How can we curb that? What kind of things can we do to increase the perception, increase our integrity as an Agile community? And are there rights and wrongs? Are there people that are just bigger and badder experts than others? And we just need to agree to that. And So, I'm just kind of going with where's everybody's thoughts at? Is there, are there things we can do, or are there ways we could hold ourselves up? Like, what's the biggest thing that you would think in our environment is emotional intelligence, the act of self-awareness, and being able to act professionally and with some civility. So, and have you guys seen this? Like, what type of things have you guys seen? And before I cut loose into a discussion, I like to do this. I don't know who all's on the phone right now, but let's create an alliance. This is a safety zone, and this is getting recorded, but I would just say raise your hand if you feel comfortable and you're open and you're honest. There's a little raise hand in the participants. I'm raising my hand now if you're willing to talk and share some of this. I see a lot of hands going up. That's all good stuff. Excellent. So I think a lot of people are really on board with this. So does anyone have any thoughts? Has anyone seen this happening, whether it be in LinkedIn, Twitter, in your own office? And what are your thoughts on that? Where do we stand as Agilists?
Can you hear me? This is Chad.
Gotcha, Chad.
Awesome kickoff. So I was just speaking at a conference yesterday, and I saw a lot of this playing out, conversations in between sessions with people. And yeah, I see the exact same thing. I've been trying to bring more, find the good in what everyone's trying to do, because if we keep an open mind, if we know that everybody, whether they're choosing a camp or a group to side with, they all have good intentions for doing that. And the more I see, if you just can bring people into conversations, utilizing coaching skills, questions, powerful questions, listening, to just draw that conversation out and go a layer below words. So something I've been saying a lot lately is words matter, but context matters more. And I probably stole that from somebody. I mean, it seems like someone quoted it at one point. But it's really true. So I'm guilty of this every hour of the day. I'll make a judgment, an assumption in my head when I see something play out or hear someone say something. And every time I have to check myself or have someone in my close circle check me and say, well, wait a second. Have you thought about this perspective? So I say that the easiest thing is to think before you talk, listen to what the other person is saying, and then try to find where you can align, almost like the improv yes and the other person, even if you disagree with them. So anyway, I'll shut up to see if anyone else wants to chime in.
Oh, that's good. Thanks, Dan. That was awesome.
Yeah, this is Kolka. Not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah, gotcha, Kolka. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, I have been experiencing the same for quite a while now, maybe more than a year. And not only this whole conversation about my Agile is better than yours, or I know more than you, or this is not what's written on the Scrum guide, but I have also seen a lot of competition between frameworks, like Kanban is better than Scrum, you are outdated if you're doing Kanban, if you're doing Scrum. And recently I was actually at a big conference here in Ireland, and there was a speaker that was also raising this kind of thing. Like, he was crushing SAFe and Scrum on his talk, and he actually had a slide where he said Scrum Masters are useless, and he didn't read it out this way. He was I think he felt, like, maybe I shouldn't say all Scrum Masters are useless, but it was what was written on his slide. And then he said, almost every Scrum Master is useless. We don't really need them. And in my mind, I was like, what's happening here? Like, this is an Agile conference. Like, there are so many different problems, so many different teams where different things apply. How can someone be saying this as one truth? And this is a speaker at a large conference. What kind of message are we giving to the community? What kind of behavior are we leading by example when we have someone at the stage saying these things? How are these people going to leave the conference, and what are they going to think going forward? you know, depending on their level of experience, if they are starting or if they are more experienced. I mean, they could take that as a truth because they heard it on a conference from a speaker.
Yeah, you wonder who are the experts internally if Scrum Masters are almost irrelevant to SAFe, you know, like who's embedded and really with the team every day at a team coaching level, you know? That's it.
So, you know, exact same thing happened at a conference I spoke at last week with one of the speakers, and there were people from the start of the talk to the end, 20 people got up and walked out.
Ooh.
So that's one way to use
Wow.
your voice, right? You can just leave.
Yeah.
Because I was a speaker at the conference too, after the conference towards the end of the day, and I did it. It always takes a lot of like work myself up to do these, like have a conversation like this. But I told myself, you know, no one's giving him the feedback that he was turning everybody off by the first half of his talk, where he just basically was bashing everything.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him after the conference face to face, and I told him, I gave him that feedback. I didn't suggest how he should change his talk. I don't know if anyone on the call is familiar with impact feedback, but I delivered it as impact feedback, where I said, here's how it made me feel as an audience member, and maybe what everybody else who was leaving was feeling. Laid it out there, found out that we aligned pretty well, and I left it. So it was a small thing, but hopefully the next conference he goes to speak at, he's thinking about that conversation. So we can throw our hands up and say, what's happening? We have groups forming. But I think we all can start to do things by just doing those little interactions. I think they do make a difference.
Yeah. Are you keeping notes, Isaac?
Yeah, that was a very nice attitude of yours, Chad. I didn't do the same. I was kind of looking around in the conference room and trying to capture what was the general feeling from the audience. And oh my goodness, what I saw were actually people looking at the speaker like with their big eyes, and some of them were actually laughing as if this was some joke. So it is very scary. One thing that I saw about this were lots of Twitter posts talking about this specific behavior, but it wasn't an impact feedback like you did, Chad. It was more like directed to no one specific, hoping that the person who did it reads, which I think it doesn't help much as well. I know it's a way of ourselves putting it out and expressing ourselves, but I'm not sure if that contributes into, you know, improving things and improving this mindset, because maybe the other person will never read, or they will read and they will actually enjoy that they are creating some churn around it, you know?
Yeah. There's got to be someone else who raised their hand who wants to chime in at this point.
For sure.
May I?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Good.
I think the problem, and again, I think it's my personal opinion based on my experience, and I just have a little bit for the last like 10 years. The way most organizations sell agility, or I would say sell agile. I've been part of it, guilty of, in order to get the contracts, in order to get into the space, to start the expectation of current environment, right? They're expecting you're going to come with a solution. Okay, you're going to come with some kind of, again, it's a mindset of a roadmap. And we have to, it's not about the right or wrong way. And that's the way the culture has been set. In order for you to open a door, you need to find the key. And the key is, hey, let me be like you. Again, we have to meet the client where they are, right? Present that. But the problem is that we don't adjust our entry points. And we constantly think that in order to achieve the goals, you need to continuously improve, right? And it did not applying that to us, right? If we enter with exam, again, we choose the model of, I know everybody, I mean, it's a lot of stuff on SAFe. I'm part of it, as guilty as I am. But we coming with this as a framework model, and we don't understand what is this framework optimized for, right? We do believe from purist point of view, it's a lot of waste, right? But that's how every organization consumes their own waste. And you come into this organization and telling them, hey, your child is ugly. How is going to be the interaction, right? It is what it is, right? Meet the client where they are, and seeing how can we add the value. Keep in mind that value cannot be negative. And coming back to our, again, manifesto, our highest priority is to satisfy the customer, right? Through early, don't forget, and continuous delivery of valuable, I know it's valuable software, but let's change it, valuable solutions, right? Even though we should not provide the solution. Yes, I do believe that, okay? But the expectation of the current culture of organization, they expect you're consulting, right? You have to tell me how to do it. We have to find the ways, and again, that's a skill set, right? To not really direct it, but direct the behavior toward some kind of outcome. And you don't know what outcome is going to come up, right? Small things may deliver drastic changes, right? And that's what we are, I mean, as Jeff said, we have to try. We have to experiment. And as we're saying always, you know, like hypothesis-driven development, right? Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to be, for some reason, what I'm seeing the huge problem is agility and whatever agile is, it's all about being predictable. And we're saying, hold on, agile, it's all about adaptive, not predictable. We have to find that balance to show with, hey guys, how about that? Let's start with 25-50, 25 adaptive, 75 predictive, and just walk that model. We as agile coaches, I blame us, myself as well. We create that. And again, it doesn't mean we're doing something wrong. Sometimes we have no other ways to keep it going, right?
Sorry. Awesome. Something always. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, while you're talking, I think you've really hit the nail on the head of organizations, kind of the expectation, right? So we as Agilists with that Agile mindset, we have this thing we want to share, right? And it's a beautiful thing that we want to share. But then when we go to try to sell it or try to create a way to, you know, make a contract or something, the organization are saying, tell me your results. Show me that you're going to do something that's going to be timelined and going to have, you know, and rather than being able to come in and let Agile really express itself and develop as a mindset throughout the organization, which is what it needs, we're kind of forced to come in and say, well, here's a framework that's better than any other framework, and we're going to turn it around in X number of minutes. And you're kind of you're getting out of the mindset and into the nuts and bolts, into the framework, and you're kind of losing that. And so you bring up a great point about that. It's what's the expectation the organizations we're working with, if they're, go back to the LaRue's color models of, and I'll put the link in the resources for those who've read Reinventing Organizations. You know, orange and red organizations expect results. So they're like, come in and tell me exactly what you're going to do and make results happen. And you just can't crush an Agile mindset down just into a framework that just makes results happen. It's a mindset shift. Great point.
No, exactly. And we are as a community, right? When it's a new company, consulting is coming, and again, he has or she don't have the content, right, of this organization. He's coming up with the perfect solution, saying, hey, Scrum will solve your problem. You know what? Scrum optimize for complex, right? It's optimized, but it has some presumption. And I'm seeing that everybody wants to change. Again, we're going through a stage here, okay? Everybody wants to change right now. Oh, it doesn't work for me. May not. But would you like to start with something? And usually you have to start where they are. And that's where the people who has, not yet adopt the mindset, okay? They went through a certification. They're reading the books. They are going to a conference, but the mindset's not there. They're coming up, whatever you're saying, it doesn't work. Coming up with a new engagement, and to win that engagement, all the previous results is being you're doing everything wrong. And I keep always saying, well, you cannot be negative. Anything may generate that. Start with where they are, see what's the content. That's why it's taking some time to, by the way, to build that trust, right? Because without the trust, we cannot do this, right? We agree, all of that, right? If we don't trust, we're not going to do anything. To build that trust will take the time. But the expectation of the current culture of the organization, they need the solution right now. And if it's a good solution, I will trust you. If it's not,
Yeah.
you have to play your game. You have to play your game.
I think when I think of the scope of this conversation, it seems like you've opened up that whole organizational change culture thing, which I love, right? Reinvention Organization is one of my top recommended favorite books. Another book, just while I'm on books, The Age of Agile by Stephen Denning came out this February. It's the #1 recommendation I'm to everybody right now. It's a great book. So back to the fighting inside the Agile community and the black and white stances, or the right or wrong stances. Another thing that I like to do anytime I'm in a conversation. Yeah, nice. Another book recommendation, Organized for Complexity.
It's a very nice reading book. See, it's a lot of pictures.
Awesome.
You don't have
Very
to
cool.
get yourself right. Even my wife can read that.
So one thing I always like to do is write the word Agile on a flip chart, whiteboard, wherever you're at. And then just ask everyone in the conversation you're in, and whether it's 5 people or 100 people, start throwing out what does that word mean to you? And just, it's an amazing exercise, because by the end of it, it tells the story itself that all of us have so many different words, ideas, concepts, tools, frameworks, practices. The end of the exercise results in the fact that we all acknowledge that Agile is an overloaded word in 2018. It's an overloaded word, and it can mean so many different things. So again, go into that layer of, let's get to the context of those conversations that everyone has in their head, because so many times I see people, we're talking about the word Agile in a conversation and we're talking past each other because we have a different mental model picture in our head of what Agile means. I actually love to flip the word towards the word agility. It has less overloadedness inside of it, because agility is a state. It's not even a state, but it's something you demonstrate. It's what everyone really wants in all of this community. And so if you can get people to talk about what they're after through questioning and listening, and kind of imagine that the word Agile doesn't even exist, right? Imagine the manifesto never happened. Just what are we all after? I think you get way farther in conversations that way. So I don't know if that's a tip or tricks, but it's an exercise I do almost every talk I give, almost every conversation I'm in, whether it's sales or whether it's during an engagement. If I sense in the conversation that people are not aligned, I just like to get it out on paper. What do we think this word Agile means? So anyway.
That's so good. I've had so many conversations where it's been a long conversation only to realize we're conversing up totally different trees, to realize their conception of Agile isn't even close to. Yep. And what's amazing, I should have clarified that first. So what you're saying here is so true. Don't get lost in these arguments and discussions without saying, well, let's make sure we're even talking about the same thing, because one person's Agile might be someone else's waterfall in disguise, right? And that was the experience I had. Someone literally was we just do waterfall. We just have a scrum master. And it's just like, wait, we're on different trees. The stuff I'm telling you over here doesn't apply if you're thinking this way. And so I love that exercise. Thank you for sharing that. That's really
cool.
Just to add it. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to be.
No, go ahead.
Just to add it to Chad, to your point, also and I'm blaming myself as well, we use a lot of jargons, right? And usually my exercise is, can we explain the problem without using in a plain English, talking to a child 6 years old, right? Can you explain your problem? And you will see while they're trying to translate right? And most of us on this call speak multiple languages. Try to translate that to a different language, of the language of 6 years old, right?
Yes.
And this is actually like, you know what, Alex? I got it. I'm like, my job, not to do anything. Just
No,
to
I
be
love
present.
Yeah, so one of
That's
the
great.
things that I think about here too is the argument of from one agilist to the next agilist, and I see this in the approach even in my own ecosystem or organization is I'm doing this over here, and this is how I'm running my sprints, and this is the tool, and we all got to use this tool for running the retrospective. And someone tries something different, and then I watch, well, you can't do that. And I sit back, and I think I've taken at this point in my career, I've taken a different standpoint, and it seems to be helping me out a lot. And I look at something like, that's wrong. I hear somebody say that's wrong. I don't look at something anymore like it's wrong when I converse with other agilists or other scrum masters or other coaches. I try to think that's just trying something different. It's not wrong. It's trying maybe they experimented, and maybe this experiment was meant to fail, and maybe this experiment will do good things, but different isn't always wrong. And what can we learn about doing things that are different? So before I'm going to go attack the fact that somebody is doing something different or I'm doing something different, going back to that, what are we trying to get out of this? And what did we learn? You know what I mean? And can this thing that I did differently benefit someone else because it actually did work? And we would have never known unless we tried that. But we're not going to try that when we're attacked by other people and revolted against. So I think it's about having a state of being open-minded and understanding the position people are in and the complexities they work within as well.
Yeah, I like what you said there. It's a mindset in itself. And I think that a lot of the disruption within our community is exactly that, because we have a mix of people that we value ourselves as agilists, as regardless of our role, whether we're scrum masters or whatever, we are some sort of agile coach, agilists ourselves. But then we have other people in our community that they were just kind of forced into the situation. I mean, I know myself, I was personally forced into this situation, and I just fell in love with it. So I enjoy what I do. But then we all, because of corporate America, they decide, oh, this is the way to go. And they just throw people and say, oh, we need a scrum master. You're going to be it. And so then we have those that are not really, they don't want to do it. They don't love it. So they're trying to just go with the flow and do what they have to. Like Isaac said before, it's kind of a waterfall in disguise. I have a scrum master. So that's like half of our battle, and at least me personally, most of my issues that prevent me from having my teams grow and evolve are addressing those kind of circumstances. And somebody else got their Scrum Master certification, so they think they're right. And they may be right. They may be, with what they're dealing with at that moment, it might be right for them. But to the idea of looking at different Scrum teams or even different teams within organizations or whatever, you can't just put everybody in one, this is the processes that work for everybody as a whole type thing, if that makes sense.
My circle doesn't fit in your triangle.
Exactly.
So a good question just came up, and I don't mind adding context to it, is the difference between a Scrum Master and an Agile coach. If you think about the context of what a Scrum Master is they are an expert of Scrum. They're a master of that. That's ultimately where the term came from. But there's a whole bunch of other superficial job responsibilities with that. It's being able to understand the ceremonies, how to get value, be a servant leader, And I think one of the biggest attributes to a good Scrum Master is that EI word. It's emotional intelligence. It's being able to kind of not be a thermostat or a thermometer, but be a thermostat. Like, right, the thermometer is going to just be, if the temperature in the room's hot, the thermometer is going to be hot. But if the temperature in the room's hot and you're a thermostat, you can find a way to cool the temperature down. And I think there are little shades of Agile coach built into, I call them team coaches. You should really know what questions to ask and how to work with people and get the best results out of them at the team level. Agile coach is just more big picture thinking, and coaching in itself is like this word agile. You brought it out. I'm a sports coach, and I even watch different other sports coaches coach in different ways. There's a pull system for coaching, and then there's a push system for coaching. So hopefully that kind of gives a little context between Scrum Master and coach.
Yeah, and I would add in there too, I think there's there's so many blankets of frameworks and methodologies and practices. And even Jeff, as you were saying, there's some, differences in each camp. It depends on kind of where you study, what you read. But boil it up kind of to the top, and I think I've heard this a lot on this call, we as Agilists can recognize the reality of Agile is it's a mindset. And so then, of course, you have ways that you implement that mindset. And unfortunately, kind of go back to what Trusty was saying, sometimes people take the framework without the mindset and then go try to just, well, this is what the manual said, so we have to have a, and I got to admit, that's where I started. I started at, stand-ups have to be this long, and you have to do this, and you have to do this, just enforcing the framework. But I think once most of us caught the idea of, oh, there's a mindset behind this. It's not just a thou shalt do this, that, and the other, and you really catch the heart of that mindset, then the rest of these become expressions of that mindset. And specifically, go back to Scrum Master, Agile Coach, it's what's needed in the situation, right? There are some places that, man, we need Scrum Master to come and show some of these principles that we can use so that we can get some teams on. Another team might just need to be coached, right? They might just need someone to come in and listen and help them dialogue and develop a better team cohesiveness. Organizations sometimes need a high-level person to come in and say, what does transformation look like here? And then sometimes they're just individual coaches needed or SAFe, right? Some organizations, maybe SAFe fits it. And so the way I've grown to think about it, and I think it ties back to this question, I hope I'm not just rambling, is that these are all tools that Agilists can use. Now, people could just get one and become an expert in one, but I think as an Agilist, with the mindset of we want to be open to improving and we want to keep looking for new ways to go forward, and we want to really be drawing answers out of the clients instead of pushing, here's what you must do. I think as we do that, all of these frameworks and different models, awareness of them and how we use them at the right time, I think just makes us better Agilists, because I think it comes down to curiosity. It comes down to, are we trying new things, failing fast, and let's try this. Well, does that work, or what does the situation call for? I just finished some coaching training. It's the mindset of a coach. A coach doesn't go in to a coaching session, or they shouldn't, with, oh, you're having a problem with, you want to run a marathon? Well, I've run a marathon, and here's 10 things you can do to run a marathon. Just do these 10 things and you're done. A coach should go in and say, well, tell me about what you're doing and where are you now, and help understand and really draw out of that person what that person needs, and then help them walk down that road. So when I think of Agilist, it's that mindset shift, and there's a lot of ways to express that. So
yeah, the only thing to add to that is it's really Scrum Master focuses on Scrum specifically, and Agile coaches are very well versed in a lot of the different frameworks and know when to apply which. And like you said, very eloquently, Isaac, they have more ability to go in and find people where they are and bring them to where they want to be.
So for anybody who asked that question or is curious for more information, The Agile Coaching Institute has some courses for coaching, but they used to have, and I think they still do, posted somewhere on the internet. If you Google something, Agile Coaching Institute, Agile Competency Matrix or something like that, it'll show you kind of the whole well-rounded. I think that answers the question. It's not the answer, but it gives you more to explore for an answer to that question on Scrum Master versus what is an Agile Coach. I agree with some of the comments. Agile Coach is another overloaded word. You got to find out what someone means by it. But there is a flexing across different skill sets of teaching, mentoring, facilitation, professional coaching. There it is. We're sharing it now. So that, I think, describes a lot of what an Agile Coach, overloaded term, on a spectrum may lean towards that more so than just a Scrum Master in the Scrum context.
Yay, thank you for sharing the diagram. Yep.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because this is something that this was the training that Jeff and I originally came together over this with. This blew my mind the first time I saw it, because in my world, I had a hammer, so everything was a nail. You know, my job, honestly, I would go in and I was teaching. That was all I was doing. I was going in and telling people, here's your knowledge, here's what you need, go do, go do, go do. And to go, oh my goodness, there's also mentoring, professional coaching, and facilitating. What? It opened up and this is what taught me the Agile mindset, was that there's more than just telling people what to do. Oh, okay. Helped elevate my thinking. I'll put that link in the document.
I'll just share for anyone interested in this stuff. There's been two major events, I'd say, that have been really impactful for me in this whole journey of consulting and Agile and whatever. Attending that course, a 3-day Agile Coach boot camp, just helped me fine-tune things I never knew I could do. And then when you leave the course and practice them, it changes your life. And then another, I attended a large-scale Scrum course, and not to say that it was impactful because I learned about one framework on how to scale Scrum, but on the meta level, it taught me systems thinking, it taught me lean thinking, and that's been huge as well. Just systems thinking and looking at problems in a completely different way. I think when I was in grade school, they probably called these critical thinking skills or something like that. But those two things I think have been super impactful for me. I don't know if anyone else on the call has those moments in their life that they could share that have just been like, wow, this changed.
What was that course? What was that last course?
It was large scale Scrum.
Okay. Interesting.
By the way, I'm going to meet Craig Logman end of this month, right? He's going to be in New York. And even though I am proficient, I would say, with less, I'm still taking that. Also to add, it's a new organization created by Alex Yakuma, Org Mindset. If you're not aware of that, just go to that website, Org Mindset. And Alex's background came from SAFe. He is actually work on 2.0 to 4.5, but his new organization, nothing to do with Agile. It's all about the organization mindset. Agility, yes. Agile is not. And not as put the negative, not to put any kind of blame on the framework. He's actually detailedly explained from software engineering, from statistical analysis, from the data, how our mindset is being created based on what's around us. What would it take for me to start seeing what used to be a blue? Now it's yellow. And why my way is different than your way? It's not bad, it's just different. And how can we align it? It's an awesome course. And again, just FYI, Org Mindset.
I want to jump in on that. That right there, I think, is where we need to move as a community. What you just said right there, this isn't necessarily bad, it's just different. And that's what hurts my heart when I hear Agilists, quote unquote, wherever they come from, saying, well, that's wrong and that's not the way to do it. That's not an Agile way of approaching Like it's saying bad, good, black, white. It's not saying is there any value in that? Well, let's explore it. Let's investigate, as opposed to just simply saying, don't say that. That's always wrong 100% all of the time. And so that right there, I think, is where if our community could shift more towards the people who are speaking for the community, speaking in such a way of saying, let's investigate, let's fail fast, let's explore new options. Let's try some of these things. I think that would represent us better than simply saying, here's a framework, there's a framework, don't listen to them, they're always wrong, and being more aggressive. It doesn't represent the openness of what I think the community should be.
Right.
In other words, if you do love a framework, tell people why you love it. Don't tell them why you don't like their framework. And I think just doing that simple step too is it changes the perspective, right? Another fun exercise is if you're in a tight enough group, try to argue the other person's point for them. It's amazing how debates go when you actually just try to argue their point and lose the argument. And not to say that we want to be in an argument, but it keeps you open-minded.
Yep. See,
I
people
think
people don't buy what you do. People buying why you doing.
Yeah.
Simon Sinek.
Yeah. Yeah, just another thing, that I've had to take on too is there's a lot to say about perspective. And I was just explaining that with my team the other day, and you tend to get caught up really in such a negative vision of things. Like grass can always be greener on the other side. Man, I was just explaining that there's a lot of things that we can be thankful for here. Many things. And that's the things that we should try to focus on for that positivity. And I tend to see that when toxicity comes in, or toxic people, or there's an attack on an idea, that's usually like fishing, you know what I mean? They're baiting, because that's ultimately what somebody wants when they're trying to drive toxic conversation. They're baiting for an argument or baiting for a debate. And there's always really good ways I think, to circumvent that. It is by listening in that argument for a point and agreeing with that point and turning that conversation around a little bit, going, oh, I actually like what you said there. Could you please explain more? And now we're not into an argumentative statement or a debate. We've actually got more constructive discussion going on. So instead of me just trying to counterpoint things, I'm looking for that one opportunity or door to run through where we could actually take this negative attack and turn it into something positive, turn that toxicity around instead of me buying into it.
I was going to say this earlier when Chad was talking. I just went through with one of my teams an exercise on first, second, and third person, and when you're having a discussion. And so if you haven't ever done this, basically third person is it's, right? It just is known. It just always exists. Everybody knows, right? So it's it's. Second person is we, right? So, well, here's what we think. And so on teams sometime, well, we feel this way, the developers, the UX people, the whoever. And then first person is I feel. And what's amazing is whenever you're having a discussion with a team and the team is doing this number, if you explain these three persons and say, let's discuss out of first person, I feel, I think, my opinion is, you can get a lot more rich discussion, because those other persons, when you use them, they shut down conversation. Everyone in America knows XYZ. Well, who's going to argue with everyone in America, right? And they're going to have to bring some other counterpoint. Whereas, you know what? Here's what I feel. Here's my personal feeling. Well, I can't take that from you. That's how you feel. Now, let me share mine. And it's just what you said earlier about impact feedback, right? It's saying, here's how what you said impacted me. Not how it impacted everybody. Here's how it impacted me. And it personalizes it. And I think you can have more fruitful discussion when you have those conversations on that first person level. So just something to throw out there.
Also, awesome. I just want to add, I started my conversation that when we getting into engagement, we're trying to sell Agile, right? Will guilt, I'm sorry. But I actually, with my current engagement, not I would say it's perfect, okay? It will take around 20, 25 years to get somewhere. That's what I appreciated. And as I'm saying, we're gonna live the dream. We're entering into engagement with our own agenda, right? That's mean we have, here is the goal of, again, Agile, and in a quarter of XYZ, you're gonna be Agile. Instead, and Jeff started, what's the examples of our current engagement we can get to bring that success, at least taste of a success. I would not gonna say it's success. We need to align the goals that being Agile align with organization goals. And that's where we're starting, like, let's understand why you want to be Agile. And even though it's a hell of a loaded question, why? Because they don't know what is that. At least you understand what's their goal and how can we help to achieve this goal. What does it mean faster for them, right? Faster, it doesn't mean is right? But faster, it's mean less waste, right? And when you start having that conversation with the leadership, right? Who you selling to, right? Okay, they start aligning with you. And just to add that to Jeff comment in the beginning, it's like, what's the recipe? Okay, based on our experience, when you enter into organizations, right? It doesn't matter on which level, as a coach, as a scrum master, team has a goals. How can being Agile, how the practices, methods, or whatever it is you're using, exercises, will help you to achieve this goal faster, cheaper, right?
Yep.
I have to run to a training right now, guys. It was absolute pleasure.
Thank you for all of your input, Alec. That was wonderful, wonderful stuff. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm trying.
Yes, we
I
all
love
are. Yeah.
How about that? I love what I do. I love it. And plus they pay me money. Come on, I'm living the dream.
That's it. That glass is half full.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, we're winding down here. We got probably 2 minutes left before we close out everything, and we've heard from quite a few people. Does anybody else have any thoughts or insights or any experiences on just watching Agilists go toe to toe with each other and wonder, where are they going with this? Why is that person even attacking someone else?
My nudge, because I like to nudge people to do something. My nudge for all of us on this call, because I think we're all pretty aligned on, don't like the topic that was brought up, right? We want to do something about it.
Yeah.
So do something about it. That's my nudge. The next time you see something unfold, it could be a conversation between two people, or it could be a conference with 100 people in the audience. Speak up. Think about how can you make an impression that is going to leave an impression and be impactful for the recipient that you're going to give it to. And do it non-confrontational. Look up impact feedback. Look how you can do that in a very neutral way. And then do it. And literally, this doesn't get easier for me. I love the results every time, but sometimes I literally have to, inside my head, say, stand up, walk over there, start talking. And once I start talking, I can't go back, right? It's not easy, but my nudge is, if you do it, you will leave an impression on people. They will hear you. And, I heard the keynote at the conference yesterday. It's all about those little things that, one interaction with one person that completely changes someone's path. Everybody has those stories. So that's my nudge.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, let me throw in there too. One of the reasons personally, this is right in line with what Chad was saying. One of the reasons I personally started feeling more like I could nudge as I started down this journey, and I was very green at the beginning, and I felt very much like I had no idea what was going on. I just knew there was a lot to learn, right? I was consciously incompetent. And, I got connected with Agilists in a community, whether it was a Scrum Masters meeting that happened to have great Agilists in it, or through coaching Agile journeys, right? Meeting up with Jeff and others, I will say helping me have that nudge to walk across the room came from knowing that I had a community of like-minded people that if they were standing right there beside me, they'd be like, yeah, you should go talk to those people. We agree with you that maybe that needs to be, modified some. So I would just say it's so important to find people like what we've had on this call. And that's why I love this group of people. I love the community that we've seen come together here around these events, because I think we heard here there's a lot of like-mindedness. And that encourages me that if I'm talking to a team or upper management, or, I'm at a conference, like you said, and I feel like something's being said, maybe I should go talk to them. I feel when I feel that nudge in my mind, I have all of you guys behind me being like, yeah, we're all on the same page. You're not crazy. You're not out there on your own. Go stand up, go talk, share effectively. And so I want to say personally, I appreciate this community because it gives me that strength and that courage to represent what I believe Agile is in a world where a lot of people that I've encountered don't think that that's a thing that even should be valued. So I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you sharing your values, because that helps me do exactly what you said there, Chad. Helps me feel that nudge and represent well.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for putting this together. This is my first time attending any of this stuff. I heard about it, I believe, when Heidi was on Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But an hour like this makes my day. So thanks for bringing joy to my life.
Definitely. Jeff, I think you want to wrap us up. Jeff, and Heidi's on the call, so.
Yeah.
I joined late, but I couldn't miss it. It was so awesome. Thank you. Even though I just saw a portion, it was like, wow, this is the best meetup yet, I think.
I think so.
I'm going to make a new page, just so everybody knows. I'm going to make a new page on our website just for our cocktail sessions, where you'll have the link to the notes and you'll have the video from this session. But also you all have the link from here, so you can go download that if you want to, PDF or Word doc or whatever. But this is so good. We're going to create a new portion on our website just for Agile cocktails, and hopefully have more in the future. So, sorry, Jeff, do you want to wrap us up then? We're right at time, and we're not rushing anybody out, but we want to wrap up on time.
Yeah, no, this was a great lunchtime for me. It was well spent, and I'm glad so many people could enjoy this and join us and get something out of it. I love the conversation, and that's what this is meant to be about. It's to surface a topic, discuss the topic, learn new things, have action items, and maybe even be the lead to other topics, which we documented. So I'm really thankful that everybody joined, and we will be doing some more of this and welcome you in. Of course, coachingagiljourneys.com. There's other really good speakers coming up. Sign up for those. These guys are really awesome. We actually screen with them. We sit down and we go, what's your topic? What are you going to talk about? What angles are you going to take? What are the learning points? And just riff with them. And they're great people with really great ideas that could benefit anybody in their Agile journey. I learn something every time. So once again, thanks for everybody taking time to join us. And I really appreciate it. And come back and join us for some more.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Agile on. Stop the recording.
This was great. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.